I grew up as someone who had no vote, no say in her country of birth. But because of the commitment of freedom-loving people around the world, apartheid was brought to an end. So I know what lovers of human rights around the world can do when we are determined. And we are determined. We are determined not only that Ashraf will be safe, but we are determined that Iran will be free. And so today, we call on our president, on our State Department, to delist the MEK, to tell the government of Iraq that the deadline of December 31st cannot stand, and to say that even if we remove our troops, we will continue to protect the people of Camp Ashraf. We know that justice will prevail, but we also know that governments cannot plead neutrality in times of oppression, because neutrality during oppression is simply support of the oppressor. And we will not allow governments that say they represent us to be on the side of the oppressors. We are here for human rights, for justice. And for that, we will continue to speak out. We will continue to stand. Thank you.
Iran, Ashraf, liberty! Iran, Ashraf, liberty! Iran, Ashraf, liberty! Iran, Ashraf, liberty! Iran, Ashraf, liberty!
Ladies and gentlemen, I am real pleased to be here today. Before I start, I'd like to say one thing. I noticed when the confetti went up and it was being thrown and I was seeing it raining on the ground, it reminded me one time at Camp Ashraf when we were outside the perimeter and we had an improvised explosive device go off just a short distance away, and as the gravel was falling down around us and parts of equipment were also falling down, neither the members of the MEC or my troops flinched at all. We just looked at each other and recognized we survived another one. I am honored to follow Desmond Tutu's daughter, Naomi, and she's done a lot of great work in her own right. Desmond Tutu has a strong philosophy of a democrat and just society without racial division. The PMY is very, very similar to the MEC. It's a democrat and just society respecting people no matter their race, national origin, ethnic background, gender, or religion. I know this for a fact. At the PMY Mosque, I used to watch Sunnis and Shias coming into the mosque to pray. My soldiers, no matter their religion, and we had all, to include Christians and Jewish faith, they were welcomed inside the mosque as well. The PMY is not able to be here. The residents of Ashraf are not able to be here today to speak for themselves. As a former resident of Ashraf, I take that opportunity to do it. As the Anti-Terrorism Force Protection Officer for all coalition forces in Iraq, as the Operations Officer for Task Force 134 Detention Operations, as the first Colonel to command Camp Ashraf, I know better. PMY welcomed us. They worked closely with the United States. Then when the State Department employees could not figure out what to do, the agreement of April 2003 and Article 10 states this agreement will not be broke unless both parties agree. That ceasefire agreement, that surrender of weapons agreement was just ignored, and they were turned over to the pro-Iranian Maliki government. In all honesty, this is as despicable as the United States government treatment of its own Native Americans. What we did to the Native Americans, we are now recognizing as wrong and trying to correct it. But there's a lot that will never be corrected. We do have time to correct what we are doing to the MEC. And it's time to get it fixed, and it's time to get it fixed now. But instead, the State Department still calls them terrorists. We have recently learned of its planned attack on the Saudi minister. And meanwhile, our State Department and our government is trying to struggle and figure out how to deal with that one. The comment is now from our government is they need to figure out at what level that attack was authorized. As the anti-terrorism officer for all of Iraq, let me explain something to the American administration. Nothing of that magnitude is authorized or even started working on unless Khamenei and Ahmadinejad is already in on it. Also, there was a comment about, well, what do we do? How do we treat them? I have no question on how to treat them. Stop treating Iran like it's a spoiled child and trying to give its way all the time, and start treating them like an adult and hold them accountable for their behavior. As I mentioned, the planned attack on the Saudi Arabia. One of the responses coming out of our government is, well, we need to have increased diplomatic isolation of Iran. Please, somebody tell me, what does increased diplomatic isolation mean? It was Khamenei, as we all recall, who stated, the road to Jerusalem is through Kabbalah. Well, guess what? As an American nation, we are opening up the gates to Kabbalah for Khamenei's forces. We go back to the 2009 and 2011 videos of the Iraqi military attack in اشرف. And Mr. President, we have the videos. We will be more than glad to share with you. And we actually request that you look at the videos and you will see several things going on. Mr. President, we will make those videos available, and we do humbly request that you have a look at it, and that will tell you much of what is needed to be known. What we see are defenseless people being run over by American-supplied vehicles. At point-blank range almost, people gunning down unarmed, innocent people. Women and men. Under Maliki's rule, Iraqi forces have already attacked اشرف twice. Let's do the math. Now Maliki states the PMY must leave by the end of the year. The bottom line is we can never trust Maliki. He's influenced by my old adversary, Muqtada Sadr, by Hakim, by Khamenei, and Ahmadinejad. He's already attacked demonstrations of Iraqi citizens in his own country. The election